Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our Lean Six Sigma Green Belt Certification info session. I'm Sue, the Marketing Coordinator for Continuing Education at the University of Windsor. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. We've got a really great presentation coming up here. So we're here to talk about Lean Six Sigma. So we're just going to jump right in and introduce our instructor, Nadir Jabur. He'll be then be going through some top line overview items of the various aspects of Six Sigma, and then we'll go into the Green Belt course. I'll go through the program details and then, of course, the Q&A at the end. As a reminder, any time during the presentation you have a question, please type it into the chat. So Instructor Nadir Jabur is a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and McGill Mechanical Engineering graduate with over 16 years of experience in the domain of continuous improvement. A passionate sensei and teacher in the subject matter, he founded Master Sensei in 2020, a continuous improvement consultancy and professional certification company. He led numerous complex and strategic initiatives at several companies across North America, spanning a variety of industries such as aviation, e-commerce, construction, manufacturing, and logistics. In addition, he spearheaded the planning and deployment of operational excellence programs and trained and coached hundreds of Lean Six Sigma students and design thinking practitioners. So with that said, I'd like to welcome Instructor Jabur. I'll let you take it from here. I know we have a poll coming up, so if you want to start with that, and then we can get everyone engaged.
Thank you, Sue. Did you want to start with the poll right away? Or,
yeah, so we have our student here, Brittany, that can launch the poll, and you should be able to see a pop-up window within your screen that will ask you a question. So what is your job title? And the answers are completely anonymous. If you'd like to just type your response, we just want to get an idea of where everyone's coming from, what profession everyone's in, what industries you're in. If you're a student, you can type in student. If you are, an engineer, type in engineer. I can go first, and I will say marketing coordinator. And I'm wondering if the poll is, so there's some people that are typing it into the chat.
I think it's a very interesting pool of talents and career choices here. I think the big headlines that jump out at me, obviously, optimization specialists, production supervisors, a lot of people in production and manufacturing. So you're definitely in the right place. So there's engineers. I see product engineers, project managers. So I see admin for hospitals. So that brings some sort of diversity to our pool. So I think it's pretty interesting, to be honest. I think these are all the roles that I'd expect, to be attracted to the subject of Greenbelt, Lean Six Sigma in general, and Greenbelt. So I think you're definitely in the right place. I think it's great to see that the diversity of the pool of talents. So thanks everyone, and thanks Sue for the introduction. I'm just gonna add a bit more about myself. It's always fun to talk about oneself. So my name is Nadir Jabur, as Sue said. Other than what she already introduced, I wanted to just basically walk you through a bit of my experience and how did I end up being a Master Black Belt and taking on the role of a sensei / instructor. So like a lot of you, I actually my career or my education started in mechanical engineering. Never was sure that perhaps a life of working with mechanical design was really my career path. So it was really by happenstance. One of my first earliest jobs was to work with in a chemicals plant, working with the people under the title of a continuous improvement specialist, engineer. At that time I was a junior, and I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. I learned a lot on the job, which is one of the best ways to learn, of course. And that's where I really fell in love with the Lean Six Sigma domain, right? It allowed me to see the intersection of working with people, process, products, and machinery, among other things, right? And of course, raw materials and so on, right? So this is where I really said, okay, this is the thing for me. I like to be analytical, but I like to work with people. I like to look at observe processes. So that's really when I said, okay, learning from senseis and consultants who would come in, and doing a lot of projects on the floor, I said, I think that's going to be my career choice. So fast forward, I moved to the States to the company I was working at was called Ricochem in Montreal. I'd say it's a mid-sized company, but then I made that jump to the company called Saint-Gobain, which is one of the biggest French multinationals. But I actually moved to the States in Massachusetts, and there basically I got immersed into an environment that was already advanced in applying Lean Six Sigma. So they had a program called World Class Manufacturing, where basically it's mandated by the headquarters in Paris to basically spread and implement Lean Six Sigma best practices across all of their manufacturing facilities. So the one I was working in, it was specifically for abrasives, the biggest in the world. It dated from 1870, so you can imagine the amount of change management we had to do to bring people to Lean. But that one, honestly, it was a 3-year experience for me, but it was really eye-opening. That's why I earned my green belt certification, a strict certification, right? You had to complete a project and a tough exam, and that's where I really got to see the big picture. Not just application of Lean Six Sigma in projects here and there, Kaizens. No, it was systematic, right? I was really involved in big transformational projects, and it opened my eyes to the big picture when it comes to Lean Six Sigma. So again, to keep it short and sweet about myself, my last role as a permanent employee before I jumped into consulting was with CAE, which is the world leader of aviation simulation and training based here in Montreal. And that was a wonderful experience because, number one, I got to manage a team of continuous improvement specialists and agile coaches. But the cool thing was that I was able to focus on a lot of things that were not manufacturing and logistics, everything else, right? I had a team that was basically looking at supporting the business and the corporate functions and everything other than, not necessarily manufacturing and operations. So we supported finance, HR. I was involved a lot with the international training centers to look at their processes, engineering, software, hardware. And that's where I really realized is that, everything that I've learned in Lean Six Sigma manufacturing is 100% applicable in other domains, right? So that's really when it kind of clicked in my head. So to end about myself, basically what I did is I said, I wanted to recognize the experience that I had in the domain. So I pursued the Master Black Belt. And what it permits me to do right now is to do consulting with clients to basically help them put together a comprehensive continuous improvement programs. I lead complex projects with the support of others. But most importantly, what's closest to my heart is coaching and certifying in the domain of Lean Six Sigma, right? And so that's how the collaboration with the School of Continuing Education at the University of Windsor started. So long story short, that's who I am and that's what I do. So I'm very thankful for you guys, for everybody, for your presence today. Thank you for making the time on this lunch hour. So if you're having a bite at the same time, I don't mind at all. I won't see it, so it's all good. I had my lunch before. So I thought it would be a good idea to talk a bit about the idea, the theory, right? So what is Six Sigma? What is Lean? Why do we talk about Lean Six Sigma? So Six Sigma at its heart is really a methodology for process improvement, as you would expect, right? So it's really built around the notion of controlling variation, right? Every process, any workplace in the world has a process, right? And any process has variability. The time that you take to basically prepare a course, one person might take an hour, another might take 45 minutes, right? Where you have variability, you increase the chances for errors and defects in your deliverable and product, and that ultimately leads to poor customer satisfaction, right? So Six Sigma is very much, it's born out of a statistical process control philosophy and methodologies. And it's really looking at how do we reduce variability in processes, right? So why the word Six Sigma for those? I'm sure a lot of you know, right? But Six Sigma is more like an aspiration to say, what if we achieved, we were able to run a process that had so little variation, right, that it would have absolutely almost zero defects, right? So if you're running at a Six Sigma process, you have 3.4 defects or errors in your output out of 1 million tries, right? So that's almost perfection. So that is where the idea of Six Sigma comes from. If we can advance the slide. Yeah, so before I get into this notion about being data-driven, just a bit of history is that, like we said, Six Sigma is synonymous with quality, with standardization, with reducing variability in processes. But a bit about the background is that, notions of statistical process control existed for decades, even from the early 1900s, right? But the big players that kind of, brought the notion of Six Sigma were Motorola. For those of you perhaps old as me who had we're very proud to have a Motorola cell phone back when mobile phones were out. Motorola and General Electric became the big players in the philosophy of Six Sigma because they took those statistical process control methods and the know-how of quality control that was perhaps niche to a certain group of engineers and master black belts, but they made it more a comprehensive approach across an organization, right? So it became a philosophy, a rallying cry. How do we achieve perfection in terms of cost, delivery, and quality? So what these players did was basically they made it part of the company's DNA, right? So they tied their strategic objectives, growth, revenue, profit, and so on, employee engagement, with Lean Six Sigma methodologies, right? And it's there that the system of the belts was born. We'll talk about it later. And of course, that meant that everybody had to participate in the Six Sigma challenge, right? Whether you're working on the floor, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a manager, everybody had to roll up their sleeves and understand what Lean Six Sigma was about. So that's just a bit of history about specifically Six Sigma. So Six Sigma, as you might know, is big on data, right? Measure, we always say, measure drives behavior. Right? So historically, in the absence of data, we make decisions based on gut feeling, on instinct, right? That's not necessarily a very bad thing, but if it's purely on intuition, we might be missing the target, right? So Six Sigma is about being data-driven, right? So that you're basically justifying your intuitions, right? You're validating your assumptions with data. So that's really the big point that I wanted to bring in this slide. We can proceed forward. So again, I mean, this is not meant to be a full white belt course, but if we look at those 6 principles that really are at the heart of Six Sigma, customer-focused improvement. Today we take customer centricity for granted. I mean, every course or every work philosophy will talk about customer centricity, which is completely right. But it was one of the first methodologies and mindsets that really looks at the notion of value that is not really exclusive to Lean, right? How do we bring the value that brings value to the customer and have a ripple effect all across our processes and organizations? So definitely customer centricity. Continuous improvement, right? It doesn't stop, and continuous improvement is not the niche, it's not the exclusive right of certain people. Everybody is involved with continuous improvement, and it's continuous, obviously, so it doesn't stop, right? We don't just pop the champagne and we celebrate our victories, but we keep going. So we spoke about variation already, right? So you see the image there, it's of a bell curve. How do we come closer to a Six Sigma where we have so little variation that we're achieving perfect quality? Removing waste. Some of you might think, waste is more lean, but of course, waste is also part of the Six Sigma mindset. Wherever you have variability, you might be missing the targets, to satisfy the customer. And whenever you're missing the targets to satisfy the customer, you're creating waste, rejections, errors inherent within the process or as an output of the process. So waste is also obviously one of the big focuses of Six Sigma. And number 5, I think probably is the most important aspect. It's a collective effort, Six Sigma, right? It's not a consultant's job. It's not an expert's job. It's everybody's job to basically drive the Six Sigma spirit and basically the methodology and philosophy forward, right? So, thinking about Jack Welch, right, the CEO of GE, he insisted that everybody in management get a black belt certification, or at least green belt. Engineers, people who are involved in the processes, to be certified Lean Six Sigma, right? So it's about equipping people with the know-how. And finally, controlling the process. Control is a very big, and we'll talk about it later when we look at the cycle of continuous improvement, the DMAIC. The last one is C, and is the most notoriously difficult one, right? How do you make sure that the improvements that you make today are going to survive next month, next year, and evolve, perpetually, right? So sustaining the gains that you do in a process, that's one of the biggest things, the statistical process control spirit of Six Sigma. So again, a lot to talk about, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the topics and the themes that we'll definitely be covering in our course. So next, perfect. So I'll take a break, and maybe we'll ask you, based on what you've seen, do you have any prior knowledge with Six Sigma? Let's see. I would suspect you might.
Those who are looking for the poll, you can actually click on the little polls button at the top of your window as well, if you don't see it pop up on your screen. It's also in the chat.
So we don't have any experts, and that's fine. I mean, that's why you're here. But honestly, the results are what I expected. I think, most of you have heard of it, right? And you're between beginner and intermediate, and it makes sense. You probably have worked with Kaizens, with continuous improvement notions. So I would suspect you might be at the white belt, yellow belt level, and you say, okay, you're probably thinking about the next level now of really being able to kind of run with the Lean Six Sigma show. So that makes a lot of sense. So you're between beginner and intermediate. That's great. Okay, so switching gears right now. So again, I think it's good to talk about the basics. So now we switch gears to Lean, right? Because this is ultimately a Lean Six Sigma course. Right? So most of us, when we talk about Lean, we think about its Japanese influence, its Japanese heritage, and it makes sense because what happened was that, the pioneers of this is something that people tend to forget, is that the earlier notions of Lean and scientific management and efficiency and were already pioneered in the West, in the US, and in the auto industry and with Ford and company. But it was post-World War II that the Japanese actually took those notions, right? Statistical process control, the early Six Sigma notions, and they actually perfected them based on their current situation. They're trying to rebuild the destroyed, decimated auto industry, right? And it was with Toyota and the early auto industry and manufacturing industry in Japan that the Lean notions began to develop, right? So what we see here is basically the famous Toyota quality house, to achieve the goals of highest quality, lowest cost, shortest lead time. These are all the foundations, right? The notions of just in time, which we cover in the course, of course, continuous flow, tact, pull system, and the other side, which is inbuilt quality, judoka, right? Stopping when you have a problem and separating human work from the machine work and having them work in harmony, right? All of that is under the foundation of Haijunka, which is level loading, standard work, Kaizen, and a stable long-term vision. We're not expected to delve into this in detail, but the important thing to see here is that this is the Toyota contribution to Lean, the Toyota production system, right? So there's the Toyota quality house, And there is, of course, the 14 principles that we see on the left-hand side, which are, which explain the philosophy, the approach to process, people and partners/suppliers, and problem solving. So those 14 principles, until today, a lot of companies try to mimic them and try to live them, right? But until today, they form the basis for why Toyota is neck and neck with Volkswagen as one of the best, and perhaps best is not the right word, the highest selling, probably the most profitable car company out there. If you go to their website until today, they credit directly a link between their success and the TPS, the Toyota production system, which is based on those 14 principles which we look at. So in a nutshell, where Six Sigma is looking more at variability, statistical process control, Lean is looking at waste, value, flow between steps in a process, right? So it has a different emphasis that is different than Six Sigma. So if we look at the notions next, when it comes to the common Lean principles, and I'm sure you've heard of all of those terms, for example, like creating flow, pull systems, 5S, Kaizen, value stream mapping, notions of value, Kanban. All of those things, are part and parcel of the Lean philosophy, and it's embedded in the TPS, Toyota Production System, among others. But these are the things that we definitely cover in the course. The notion of value. What is value added? What isn't value added? And what is non-value added is considered muda. It's among the 8 wastes. So we deep dive into the 8 wastes, and we make sure that you kind of have those goggles or the spectacles when you're looking at your process. How do you identify the waste, right? And how do you differentiate from the types of waste and how to tackle it? So these are all core principles of Lean that we'll definitely look at. And of course, the infamous 5S that is mainstream right now, right, with Marie Kondo and so on, if she wants the Netflix special. But if you don't have an organized workplace, chances are you're not gonna have a streamlined and an efficient process. So this is the foundation, which is organization of the workplace, having what you need when you need it at the right quantity, and which is, by the way, strongly related to just in time, right? Reducing inventory through your process to have exactly what you need when you need it at the right time. So again, just a reminder of us that these are the core principles of Lean that are really focused on waste, the reduction of waste, adding value, and creating flow, that we'll definitely look at during the course. So I insist on saying that our certification is Lean Six Sigma, right? Some certifications might say they're more leaning towards Lean, others towards Six Sigma. We will be a hybrid. The methodology DMAIC is born out of Six Sigma, but it's really the hybrid, the yin and the yang of Lean and Six Sigma that we're going to be looking at. So like I said, Lean, focused on removing waste, adding value, increasing the speed of a process, introducing pull in a process, and ultimately focused on the customer, right? Six Sigma, removing variation, improving quality, leveraging the muscle of statistical process control. But both of them, of course, are looking at the customer, right? Customer focus. So it's virtually impossible right now to talk about continuous improvement today without looking at the left and the right-hand side, Lean and Six Sigma. So that's why we're going to be looking at both aspects in our training, of course. Okay, so just going to take a little sip here. Don't want to lose my voice. So, you might be asking the question, okay, Lean Six Sigma, where do we apply it? And is it just was it just a wave in the 80s and the 90s? It's still applicable. 100% is still applicable today. So you look at the big players on the left-hand side, and that's not even covering it all, right? Whenever you have a business that cares about delivery on time, quality delivery, and cost control, of course you're going to have Lean Six Sigma in mind. So Amazon is definitely one of the companies that applies it. People are trained in higher positions in Amazon, and of course they have like strict deadlines and targets for achieving same day or next day delivery, right, for Prime members and so on. So definitely, the notions of inventory control and reducing wastes and so on are highly applicable. We won't go into the details, but you see all the other names, of course, the automotive, Ford, Toyota, Nissan, and Honda, and all the other automotive companies, of course, Boeing in aviation, 3M in manufacturing, General Electric, of course, they're one of the early forerunners. Banking, right? So you've got Bank of America, they've claimed billions of dollars of savings, and they've implemented thousands of projects from their people internally. So really the message here is that, yes, it is highly applicable. We live in the age today of we're at the dawn or the onset of ChatGPT and AI and so on, but these don't negate the knowledge of Lean Six Sigma. They only make it more powerful, right? In terms of analysis, in terms of insights. Same thing comes with digitalization. They work hand in hand, right? So the philosophy, the notions will always be there. They will just be they'll run on higher gears with what the revolution that we're experiencing today, AI and digitalization and so on. So maybe one last thing to say here is that as you can see, it's not just manufacturing, healthcare. We care about the delays that we have, in surgery, hospitalization. So it's big in healthcare, and I can see some people are from a healthcare background. Finance has taken a great interest for a long time in Lean Six Sigma. Again, mortgage application processing times, all that. That's definitely within the wingspan of Lean Six Sigma. HR, I'll share with you examples later, but even HR, for example, where time is of the essence, picking up the biggest talent from the market. What's your process of hiring and so on? This is all, anything that concerns delays is definitely within the target of Lean Six Sigma. Engineering, IT. Thinking about IT right now, of course, we're living in the time of Agile. Agile was born out of Lean, right? So if you understand the Lean concepts, you'll have a very strong handle on Agile. Notions of Kanban, visualization of work, short feedback loops, and continuous delivery are definitely rooted in Lean, right? So long story short, of course, government, customer service, retail. My last experience in consulting was working in a fashion e-commerce. So and I was astonished how applicable it is even in such settings. So Lean Six Sigma is alive and well and very, very relevant in a wide range of domains. So just to make an important mention is that our course, I'm going to be talking about the content later, is going to be really centered around the DMAIC, which is the most powerful continuous improvement cycle out there in application, right? Defining the problem, measuring it, analyzing it, finding improvements, and controlling, right? And that's really, to be called a green belt, you'll have to really get a good handle on the DMAIC, the domain, right? So that's, like I said, that's going to be the focus of the training. And that's what makes the green belt training so interesting, is that you're not just going to leave it with theoretical notions. You're going to have a very strong methodology and a host of tools that you can actually tackle real life problems and situations. So that's why I wanted to mention the domain. Okay, so that was a bit of the theory, just to give you an idea of what we'll be covering and the notions that we're going to be tackling. Excuse me. And now you might be wondering, okay, the belts, the famous belts, why green belt and how do you situate yourself, right? So it was at Motorola that they started to recognize the levels of implication in the Lean Six in Lean Six Sigma, that they started the notion of belts to recognize experience and to kind of see, how the organization is set up to support Lean Six Sigma, right? So you start with white belt. White belt is typically a half a day or a day's course where you look at the general Lean Six Sigma philosophy and methodology. So you leave the room understanding the basics and able to converse in it, but it's the most basic training. Excuse me. A lot of places offer that training for free and so on. Yellow belt is, some people actually go through that path, and we'll see if some of you are actually yellow belts, but yellow belt is a bit longer. Sometimes it goes up to 2 days. At that point, you might be asked to do a yellow belt to focus on specific tools, and you'll be able to apply them, like root cause analysis, data collection, and so on, right? So yellow belt yellow belt plays an important part in a project because they support the leadership of the project in specific tools, right? For me, honestly, the sweet spot is the green belt. The green belt for me is like the foot soldier of continuous improvement in an organization. They're the ones that really like spend a full 1 week course. They know exactly how to apply the DMAIC in real life, right? After a fair deal of practice, and we can trust them with leading smaller, mid-size projects within their organizations. They can even tackle bigger projects. That's fine, depending on the time allotted to them, right? So for me, honestly, the green belt is the dynamo of improvement in any organization, and I really like to see a lot of, especially at the management level and even in technical levels, senior technical levels, to have that capacity to drive the change. Black belt, in terms of theory, you start to, delve deeper into, the Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma concepts, statistical process control, design of experiments and things like that. So your knowledge of the tools and the application is taking a notch up. And you're expected to lead more complex, projects that deal with, multi-departments and multi-processes. So the complexity of what's expected of you, you're expected to be comfortable doing value stream mapping and so on. And ultimately, the master black belt is, a person has had enough experience doing such projects that they can consult on the subject of Lean Six Sigma, consult with companies on how to run their Lean Six Sigma strategy and continuous improvement program implementation. And of course, they're entrusted with teaching and coaching others on Lean Six Sigma. But it's not just them that do it. Anybody, a black belt, a green belt, they have a responsibility of sharing what they know, right? But ultimately, in that call it hierarchy or whatever you want to call it, the master black belt has had a fair share of experience. We're good. Yeah. So tell us, have you had a chance to have a white belt or yellow belt training? So it's almost like 50-50. We've got 55 no. Yeah, it's close to 50-50. And that's perfectly fine. I'm happy that some of you already have the background, either yellow or white belt, but that's not a problem. When we start the course, we will take you through the basics and the knowledge of Lean Six Sigma from A to Z. But I'm glad to see that some of you, if you end up joining us for the course, which I hope you do, yeah, so it's a 50-50. That's cool. And that's fine, honestly. I don't expect you to have a whole host of experience in Lean Six Sigma before coming to the course, but that's good to know. All right. So why should you, now we're talking concretely, why should you sign up for the course and join us, right? So what I did is I looked at some numbers. So I looked at a very interesting survey that Indeed did for 5,000, more than 5,000 green belts, and I asked them the question about the benefits of the certification. And I think it's interesting to look at the numbers. 73% of job seekers who did the green belt, they said that it helped their career progression, and that was the biggest reason why they did the green belt. So whether you're already in an organization or if you're on the job hunt, it's definitely a worthy investment. About 50% that they said they did it and it helped them to make more money. And it's perfectly fine, right? We want to be recognized for our skills, right? So it makes sense that if you gain more skills and become more valuable to your organization, that's reflected in a higher pay. 45% said that earning the Six Sigma Green Belt helped them get a job. So again, if you're on the job hunt, I'm speaking from my own experience when I was hiring. When I saw a green belt beside somebody's title, even if they didn't have a whole host of experience in continuous improvement. For me, that stood out. It means they took the effort to basically sit down in a classroom and learn about the best practices. So for me, that's something that definitely, like if I see LSSGB, Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, for me, that's something that stands out. And finally, I'm almost 100% said they would recommend to a family member or a friend Six Sigma certification. So they have positive things to say about it. And from my personal experience, I think honestly, again, whether you're looking to solidify your career or ready to help jumpstart your career, it's a great idea. And last but not least, LinkedIn did a survey, and as of 2021, and I'm sure it still applies today, Lean Six Sigma, certification Lean Six Sigma is considered one of the top 10 most valuable in-demand skills on the market today, and I totally relate to it. I'm not biased though. Good. So if we look at the points that I have here, again, just to recap, why a green belt with us at University of Windsor? Basically, you'll be able not only to have the knowledge of Lean Six Sigma, you'll be able to see a project through from A to Z using the DMAIC methodology, right? And that's a big, big asset for you and for your organization, absolutely. That's another notion that's very important, is that I categorically refuse people who work in Lean Six Sigma alone. We can't be lone soldiers when we are Lean Six Sigma champions, right? Or project leaders. It's about leading a team, right? Because when you're changing processes, when you are changing the habits of people, right? You have to involve them. It's a question of respect. It's a question of engagement, and it's a question of getting the right solutions on the table, right? So if you say Lean Six Sigma Green Belt project, you definitely have to create a team. So my point being is that if you're aspiring or you want to try your luck in managing a team of people and so on, a Green Belt project is your perfect start to really test yourself and prove your managerial potential. So I'm going to quickly reply to the question we have from Jen. DMAIC is a like I said, it's the most widely known continuous improvement methodology. It's the full cycle: defining a problem, measuring it, analyzing, improving, and controlling. So that's really our course is built around understanding how to master the DMAIC cycle. Thanks, Farouk. Yeah, so again, I mean, I'm close to the time that was allotted to me for this, but again, making a bold statement about your career ambitions, like I said, having it on your CV basically shows that you're able to lead a multidisciplinary team and to actually put theory into practice. And finally, point 4, becoming valuable to your organization. So the next time that you're around the meeting, and I'm sure there will be a problem related to quality, related to customer satisfaction, cost, delivery, right? You're able to raise your hand and say, you know what? If you give me enough time and resources, I'm a green belt. I can take this. I can tackle this, right? So that's the beauty of being a green belt within your organization. So concretely about the course, I've worked with the continuing education at University of Windsor to make sure that the course becomes accredited by the Council for Six Sigma certification. And we insisted on that because we want to make sure that the course is recognized in its context and in its curriculum by this is the most widely recognized accreditation body in the world, right? So what this means is that our curriculum, the duration of the course, the 35 hours, it respects the requirements from that council to be called a green belt course, right? And even the structure of our exam. So more concretely, we're going to have 10 sessions of 3.5 hours each. So that's your 35 hours. It'll be face-to-face live. I'll be using my famous blackboard. Half of the course is going to be exercises challenging you, right? I'm not going to bombard you with only theory. So I want you to practice. And just something important to mention is that I really encourage you to come in with a project. So for those who register, I'll reach out to you. It's good for you to come with a project in mind because you can develop it throughout the course. and you can really have something concrete to develop. So other than that, I mean, there's going to be a final exam at the end for you to obtain your certification. That will be our last session, which I believe is May 15th. And you obviously you need to fully attend the 10 sessions, and you need to achieve 70% on the final exam, which is made up of 100 multiple choice questions. Some of them are hard, some of them are quite easy. So I didn't design them to kind of to have a gotcha approach, right? They're just to make sure that you understood the basics. And yeah, I mean, it will be a 3-hour exam, open book, right? And you'll have 3 attempts at the passing mark, which I'm sure anybody who attends fully should be okay. So I guess probably one of my last slides here, just to talk about again what we will be seeing in the course. The beginning will be focused on Lean Six Sigma as a whole, right? The philosophy of it, the tools, the notions, covers a bit what I spoke today. But then 80% of the course will be that DMAIC cycle, DMAIC. We take your real life problem and you're working on it, or you can take a fictional, based on the stuff that we have in the course, defining the problem, measuring it, analyzing it, improve and control. And the last part is something that I insist on having, because ultimately you're going to be a facilitator and a team leader, right? So we're going to have a small section on team dynamics. How do you run a good workshop, right? With all the technologies that we have today, and how do you engage your people? How do you drive towards consensus in decision making and so on? How do you handle difficult situations? So we look at team dynamics. And finally, we look at the big picture of managing a company with Lean Six Sigma, managing the operations of a company with Lean Six Sigma, right? So I don't want you just to have a micro level understanding of the methodology. I want you to look at the big picture. How do companies apply Lean Six Sigma at large? So that's really what our course is going to be covering.
Thank you, Instructor Jabur. That was very, very informational, very interesting information as well. So before we head into the Q&A, I do want to go through some of the program details here. The dates, first day of class is April 24th. As Nadir had mentioned, the last day is May 15th. The classes take place Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., and it is online. And the fee is $13.50 plus HST. There is a payment plan available. If you are UWindsor student, staff, or alumni, you are eligible for discounts. Please just email us at continue@uwindsor.ca for the discount code. And then if you are an employer of an organization that wants to send a team member or team members into the program, you may be eligible for the Canada Ontario Job Grant Program as well. And this job grant program will help offset the costs. So there is an application process, and starting April 1st, if you submit an application, and we can get you in contact with our Canada Ontario Job Grant person as well to help you through that process as well. Nadir, did you want to just talk briefly about the one-on-one coaching? It is an additional sort of one-on-one coaching that is optional as part of the program as well.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Sue. So basically, I think, it's a very good idea to, consider this, because, during the course, we will be talking about your projects as much as we can, but, given the size of the participants, we can't really look in detail, right? So this is what I'm suggesting, is that we have three sessions of an hour each. We can work out the schedule. I mean, we're targeting to have them on Saturdays during the course, right? That'd be great for those who really want to take on a project and work intensely with me, so we can see your advancement. So the first session will be to make sure that you have a properly defined project. The second one will be to make sure you've got everything in place to make the measurements. And the last session will be to look at the results of your workshops and making sure we can close the project. So yeah, I mean, I really encourage you to consider it. Of course, it comes at an additional fee, but I think it adds immense value to actually to be doing something practical at the same time as the course. So highly suggested.
Great, thank you for that. With that said, we will head into the Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we can have a look at the chat here. So I will be reading out the questions that appear in the chat, only because in the recording, no one can see the chat window if someone decides to view the chat. So, or sorry, to view the recording. So we can wait a little bit to see if there are any additional questions. Please feel free to type them in the chat. So a question, okay, so we have, so Brittany said, what is the time commitment outside of class?
That's a great question. So I think honestly, for those who will be looking to do like a project to close between a month or two, like in parallel, you should be looking at investing like 40 to 60 hours. It's a big investment, but to make sure that you finish the project in a month or two, that's for the people who will take on a project. For those who would rather not take a project, I think honestly the time commitment would be just doing the final review of everything that we've done together for the final exam. So that's probably half a day on your own.
Okay, great. So we have another question. Are there plans for another session outside of this one? So currently this is the only session that we have available, but really we schedule our courses based off of demand and really time of year. So there's always a possibility that we will be offering another session. Do you have a short business proposal you can share when people are asking their company to invest in them attending? We can certainly provide something for you. We don't have anything offhand, but we can provide something for you if you're looking for a business case to really validate why you need this training. If you could email us at continue@uwindsor.ca, we can help you through that process as well. Is there a difference between the certification with or without a project?
If there's a difference between, no, I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, the project is a great addition, but it's not a prerequisite. So at the end, full attendance and passing the exam will get you that certification. So the project is your own discretion. It will be just something that would solidify your learning experience. That's all.
So I think there was a similar question. If you have to bring your own project, will one be provided? I guess would be the question, right? Will one be provided if you don't have a project? Okay.
Yes, I mean all throughout the DMAIC, I'll give you fictional examples that you can work on, or you can work on your own project. Yeah, so there's no issue there.
Also, not taking on a project, how does that affect the certification?
It doesn't.
I think,
like I said, it's the attendance and the exam. It's just I'll make it very clear. You don't have to, but it's something that you will maximize your learning, but you don't have to.
Okay, there was another person that asked, does it have any exam at the end of the course in order to, yes, so there is an exam, as Nadir had mentioned, 100 questions, multiple choice, and you get 3 attempts, correct?
Correct. Most people get it right the first attempt, so don't worry about the third one. So
yeah, great. What is the discount percentage for student, faculty, and alumni? Okay, so students and faculty get 5% discount off the course fee. Alumni get 10%. And email us continue@uwindsor.ca to let us know what group you fall into, and we will send you the code there. Is there a textbook we need to purchase?
No.
Okay. Okay, yeah,
no,
so
I mean, we will be providing the materials for the training, so no, there's no textbook. Sorry, if you were going to add something soon.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, any materials that are required is already rolled into the price, so that's the flat course fee there. Another option, training time is scheduled. Again, it's based off of demand, and there's always a possibility for an additional section to be offered. An upcoming International Summer 2023 Master of Engineering Industrial Program student, am I eligible to take up the certification? So are you, so Masters of Engineering Industrial Program student incoming summer 2023. So this program is open to all. So you are welcome to take it. It is online as well. So if you are in a different country, you just have to prepare to prepare for the time difference of when these courses take place or when the class takes place. Can we have any records from an online course or not in the policy? So there is a continuing education transcript that we will provide you at the end of the certification. You will also receive a certificate saying that you've completed the green belt as well, issued by the University of Windsor Continuing Education. I think that was it. I went through those questions pretty quickly. So is there anything you'd like to elaborate on in terms of those questions? Nadir, are you good? Does the fee include taxes? It does not include taxes. So it's plus HST, so the 13%. So $13.50 plus HST.
I think honestly, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, will the lessons be recorded and will we have access to them after the course is done? So we make every attempt to try and record the lessons. However, if there are technical difficulties, we obviously, recording is not guaranteed, and it also does not replace attendance in the class as well. They will be available to students, the recordings, up to 2 weeks after the course is complete. And then we close down the learning management system for that course. I think Six Sigma benefit for civil engineering professionals. So Nadir, if you can answer that as well. Civil
Definitely,
engineering.
honestly, I was already talking about how it's applicable across the board. Whenever you have a process that requires a certain delivery time, that has quality requirements from your customer, which of course is also applicable to civil engineering, right? Mistakes, errors in design, delays. I've worked on a fantastic project with somebody. This was actually one of the things I was going to say, to give you examples of projects I've worked on. I've worked on a project, with somebody in hardware engineering, for like a civil aspect, and we looked at the review process, right? How come we had like 40% rejection? So just to say is that definitely wherever you have a process, even in civil engineering, there's definitely applicability for this. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Will we be able to download the videos in the 2-week window? Unfortunately, no, the videos will not be downloadable. The content that will be in the certification program is proprietary, so you can view them, and but they will not be downloadable. Will a future black belt course be offered through UWindsor? We are always looking for new courses to develop and look at. Really, it's based off of, again, demand and how popular Six Sigma is, and it looks to be very popular. So there's always the possibility of something like that offered for future students. Which Six Sigma belt is best for civil engineering graduates?
I think honestly, it's to the same point. I think the green belt is an excellent choice for somebody in civil engineering. It's the same across the board for domains of engineering or quality, or whoever thinks that Lean Six Sigma is good for them. The green belt is that best spot for you to be, in my opinion, unless you consider going black belt or master black belt in the future. But the green belt is the most value for the money, in my opinion.
Thank you. Is there still a lot of spots available? There are spots available. It's still really too early to tell whether or not the course will fill up, but based off of the interest that we've gotten even prior to this info session, I would not wait until the last minute. I would secure your spots as soon as you can, only because of the amount of inquiries that we've received so far. So there is no extra fee. So the question is, attending an exam is there an extra charge? There is not an exam fee to write the exam if you register for the course. And with that, if you can think of anything else outside of this presentation, please feel free to email us at continue@uwindsor.ca. I'll put it in the chat. And we are very responsive to that email. So please just make sure that you ask us anything related to the program. We will try and get you the best answer as quickly as possible. Thank you so much. And we have 4 minutes left, so I can hang around, for any other additional questions as well. And with that, we can end off the session. I'll still be here if you think of anything else.
Thanks, everyone, and yeah, hope to see you on the other side, on the course side. So I think honestly, we'll for those who sign up, we'll have a great time. We'll get to know each other, and we'll have a very, very interesting learning experience together. So thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Nadir, and thank you everyone for joining. I really appreciate your time. Hope everyone has a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.